Hello. Welcome to these candidate forums presented by the League of Women Voters of Tacoma-Pierce County through TV Tacoma. I am Liz Kernitz-Thurlow of the League of Women Voters. Both Bailey Wombold, also of the League, and I will be moderating these forums, and we are happy to be once again working with TV Tacoma. The League of Women Voters of Tacoma-Pierce County wishes to acknowledge that we live on the ancestral lands of the Coast Salish peoples, surrounded by their traditional waters in the shadow of Mount Tacoma. We actively seek inclusive and respectful partnerships that honor Indigenous cultures, histories, identities, and current realities. The general election is Tuesday, November 4th. All ballots in their signed envelopes must be in drop boxes or postmarked by 8 p.m. on November 4th. Our vote is our voice. Please use yours. In this year's general election, we will be electing a new mayor, 4 Tacoma City Council seats, at-large position 6, and council districts 2, 4, and 5, 1 position on the Tacoma Civil Service Board, 1 Tacoma School District Number 1 Director, 3 Port of Tacoma Commissioners, positions 1, 2, and 4, 3 positions on the Metropolitan Park District of Tacoma, a Pierce County Council District 5 representative, and a new Pierce County Charter Review Commission. We do not interview candidates for Charter Review or Pierce County Council on this program. This is a big, important election. Don't forget to vote. If you're not yet a registered voter, you can register at the Pierce County Auditor's Office or at public libraries. Because we are the League and nonpartisan, we will not present forums when only 1 candidate would attend. Our forums are covering Port Position 4, Tacoma Mayor, Tacoma Council at-large Position 6, and Tacoma Council 2 and 4, and all 3 Parks District races. Please watch these forums, read your voters' pamphlet, check candidates' websites and news organizations, attend forums at which candidates are speaking, and make yourself an educated voter. Bailey Wombold and I will both be moderating forums, some separately, some together. Questions have been prepared by Bailey, me, and other members of the League of Women Voters of Tacoma-Pierce County. The general election is on Tuesday, November 4th. You may mail your ballot or put it in a drop box. Be sure to get it in a drop box or postmarked by 8 p.m. on that night. And please, don't forget to vote.
Hello. On behalf of the League of Women Voters of Tacoma-Pierce County and TV Tacoma, welcome to this forum for Metropolitan Park District of Tacoma Commissioner positions 1, 2, and 3. We are so happy to have all 6 candidates present today. My name is Bailey Wombold, and with me is Liz Kernitz-Thurlow, also of the League of Women Voters, and we will be the moderators for this forum, which is for the general election on Tuesday, November 4th. These positions are elected by the voters of Tacoma in areas of Browns Point and Dash Point. The candidates are, in ballot order, for Commissioner Position 1, Alisa Lee and Jerry Thorpe; for Commissioner Position 2, Carla Santorno and Malachi Cabera; and for Commissioner Position 3, Bronwyn Clarke and Pete Reyes. Welcome to all, and thank you for being here. These candidates have been given our ground rules, which include such things as not interrupting the other candidates or talking about them, and to please just answer the questions asked. Please nod to confirm your agreement. Excellent. Thank you all. Candidates will have up to 2 minutes for opening statements, 1 minute for closing statements, and 60 seconds or so for each question. We'll let you know each time. Each candidate will always have the same amount of time to answer questions as everybody else. We will begin opening statements in ballot order, so Alisa Lee will give the first statement. The order of answering will thereafter rotate with each question. Alisa Lee, you have 2 minutes.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. My name is Alisa Lee, and I was appointed to the Parks Commission back in December to replace Tacoma legend Aaron Pointer. I was the first to be appointed out of a very competitive field, and I've been working hard to lean in, listen, and serve you ever since. Today, I'm here to tell my story and hopefully earn your vote for a full term. This is not a path that I originally saw for myself. I moved to Tacoma 15 years ago, right after I turned 18, just to attend college and make a better life for myself. It was the city where I got the most scholarships. But, you know, now I call Tacoma the city that made me. However, I grew up in a blue-collar household in a rural area. I had to navigate both my mixed-race identity and learning the American way of life. As I got older, I found myself acting as my family's advocate, as so many children of immigrants do. Helping my family secure disability for my little sister really showed me that the system doesn't always work as intended, and I've made it my life's work to try and make the system work for everyone. After college, I went on to canvass many of the city's doors as an organizer. I really fell in love with making connections with the people, with Tacoma. I was happy behind the scenes for many years, but as I've continued to watch America and the country I care so much about change, I felt like it was time to step up, do more, and hold the door open for others. Today I stand before you as a commissioner, but I've also been a waitress, a farm worker, and even a caregiver. Tacoma's parks have long been a sanctuary for me, and it's an honor to now serve as their steward. In my appointed term, I've worked hard to listen in, and my top priorities include keeping our parks and programs accessible for youths and seniors, inclusive for our diverse communities, and safe and welcoming for everybody. For me, that means protecting our programs that serve working families, like Club B and Beyond the Bell, even in tough times. Also, really emphasizing that access and inclusion. Tacoma is set to become a majority aging population by 2030. We need to be ready. And finally, I'm thinking about safety from so many perspectives, one of climate and user experience. I hope to earn your vote, and I am excited to be here to serve.
Thank you. Jerry Thorpe.
Thank you for having this opportunity. My name is Jerry Thorpe, and I have been a former park board member, and so I have a number of years of experience in that position. Some of the wonderful things that I've seen reflect that we have probably the finest park system in the entire United States. We are very fortunate that we are an independent body, that the city of Tacoma and the city council, they cannot take money from the park district for some activity, but rather our budget is our budget. So it's important that we spend our budget well. And I would hope that I would continue to bring that experience, my past experience, to the board itself. Some of the great things that I've experienced in the past, I mean, for those of you that remember E.T., our walrus, I was able to feed E.T. when he was just a pup. Didn't mean to hit that. And I was involved in the group that brought 6 muskox back to Tacoma, and we were given free transportation by Alaska Airlines to bring our muskox in. So I would hope to bring my experience. I'm very concerned about how money is spent, and it's being spent well. We don't have extra.
Thank you. Thank you. Carla Santorno.
Hello, my name is Carla Santorno. I am running to retain my seat as Park Commissioner, Position 2. And like Lisa, I was selected to take the place of Tim Reed, who sadly had passed away earlier in the year. I was superintendent of Tacoma Public Schools until July of 2022. And then I retired. I promised myself when I retired that I would continue to seek out ways to serve our community with a focus on youth and families. While I have served on several community boards, my appointment to this Parks Commission job has convinced me that I can make a great contribution to our park system. My experience in strategic planning, building partnerships, working with complex budgets, and designing innovative solutions to complex problems is well aligned with the skills needed to be a commissioner. I bring strong communication skills, a penchant for collaboration, and an understanding that community involvement is more than asking for a survey. I want this job because I love to do. That's what I love to do, serving the people of our community and building a strong, connected, and service-oriented organization. My first priority is to provide full inclusion and access to our community, centers, parks, and trails. I commit to taking a closer look to ensure that no matter your zip code, background, or ability, you'll have full access to our parks and programming. Applying a closer lens means working to improve and revitalize all facets of our park system. Our park system is amazing. I can't wait to continue to earn your vote and work with my colleagues and partners to exceed your expectations. Thank you.
Thank you. Malachi Cabera.
Good morning, good evening, or afternoon, or whenever you may be watching this. My name is Malachi Cabera. I'm a candidate for Parks Commissioner position number 2, and I'm so fortunate to be here today. My story is one of purpose. The Parks District is something that's very professional and personal to me. My partner, who's actually in chambers today, we found safety, comfort, and vulnerability in our parks. What brought me to Tacoma was I was actually kicked out of my home because of my sexuality. And the parks was somewhere where I felt where I can just be myself. And I want to expand upon that for everybody in our community right here in Tacoma. Professionally, I have been in Tacoma for nearly all my life in Pierce County. And I work here, I live here, and I sleep here. And I want to continue to serve here. My experience is one of nonprofit and corporate experience. I am the youngest candidate here, but that does not mean that I don't have the experience to serve as your Parks Commissioner. I want to support current initiatives happening in our Parks Department, like the 10-minute walk initiative, like the 60 by 30, and also expand our tree canopy, which is a 30 by 30. I'm one that lives in South End Tacoma, and so I want to make sure that we have equitable investments in our southern part of our city, where marginalized communities don't feel the impact of our Parks District the way that everybody should. I'm just super excited to be here today to tell my story and make my case as to why I will be the next Park Commissioner, the best Park Commissioner, and looking forward to connecting with everybody here today. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bronwyn Clarke.
Thank you. My name is Bronwyn Clarke, and I'm running for Parks Tacoma Position 3 because we are facing deep cuts to social services, extreme weather as our new normal, and even Parks Tacoma is having to make cuts. We need skilled leadership that will protect the programs our most vulnerable neighbors rely on, while also driving innovation to do more with less. Our parks can be more than places to play. They can be hubs for community care, connection, and climate resilience. I first fell in love with Tacoma's spirit of community when I moved here in 2014. Since 2020, I've called the South End home while working at every level of government to strengthen public services by co-designing them with community. From helping Denver address gun violence, to streamlining Medicaid services, to supporting guaranteed income program right here in Tacoma, I've seen how systems are made stronger through partnerships. That's why I'm honored to have the undivided support of the Parks Staff Union. Parks staff know how vital it is that we preserve and protect our existing parks, and they trust me to lead with both practicality and vision. Not only do I have the experience to drive innovative community-led services, but I've also served on numerous policy and budget committees. I know how to align scarce resources to deliver for our community. My approach is simple: protect what we've built, invest in neighborhoods left behind for too long. And in these times of systems failing, I think it is an imperative that we reimagine alternatives for a better future. Our parks are already better than most, but this isn't the time for status quo thinking. We must build collaborative partnerships between parks, the city, the library, the county, Pierce Transit, so that together, and community, can't forget community, so that together we can meet each other's needs. Thank you for voting Clarke for Parks.
Thank you. And finally, Pete Reyes.
Hello, my name is Pete Reyes, and I'm honored to serve as your Parks Tacoma Park Commissioner for position number 3. I'm running to retain my seat because I believe that Tacoma's parks are one of our greatest treasures. My wife and I chose Tacoma as our forever home after the first time that we visited and saw the beauty of Owen Beach at Point Defiance Park with our children. Since then, we have spent countless days exploring our parks and trails, riding bikes, and building community through park events. Before joining the board, I served for years on the Parks Tacoma Active Living Advisory Council and volunteered with the Tacoma Nature Center, as well as volunteering with the Tacoma Tree Foundation as a tree steward. Being appointed to the Parks Board in a full circle moment was deeply meaningful to me. My family's Tacoma story began in Point Defiance Park, and today I'm one of the commissioners of that park. Professionally, I'm a union nurse with 15 years of experience in behavioral health, so I know firsthand how access to safe, supportive spaces can be in improving in physical health and mental health outcomes. I'm working so that every park and community center is a place where our families gather, children grow, and our seniors feel welcome. Our parks can prevent youth violence, celebrate diversity, and create belonging across Tacoma. That means to me continuing to invest in safe playgrounds, accessible trails, and programs that benefit working families like my own. It also means ensuring that our facilities, spaces, and trees are resilient in the face of climate change so that they remain vibrant and healthy for generations to come. I'm proud to be endorsed by Congresswoman Marilyn Strickland and progressive leaders like Speaker Lori Jenkins, Senator Yasmin Trudeau, and Executive Ryan Mello, as well as Jamaica Scott. Also, my labor siblings at 10 labor unions and counting. And just to correct the record, I am also endorsed by the Parks Tacoma Labor Union, as well as the Tacoma teachers and firefighters, and 30 other elected and community leaders. It's been an honor to serve on the Parks Board, and I'd be honored to continue this work. Thank you.
Thank you. Now it is time for questions. Since Alisa Lee gave the first opening statement, Jerry Thorpe will answer first. Again, due to time constraints, for most questions we will have only 60 seconds, but for this first one, we will allow 90 seconds. So the first 90-second question, Parks Tacoma is currently facing a budget deficit of millions of dollars and recently laid off around 24 parks employees. What ideas do you have to address the budget deficit and ensure this doesn't happen in the future? And how will Parks Tacoma maintain the same level of service with fewer employees? You have 90 seconds.
I'm first?
You're first, yes.
Yeah, dealing with the park with the deficit is something that I've experienced in my working life because I was a teacher in the public schools. And many times we faced deficits in the school district and services were cut back because of that. I am very concerned that the Park District has overspent its budget. I think that is not what the Park District should be doing. Much better to spend less than spend more and then face the deficit of saying that we need to cut staff. The staff at the Park District has always been exceptional. We've been very lucky to have people working for the parks that really believe in what they're doing and keeping up our system. The parks have unparalleled, I suppose you might say, beauty here in Tacoma, and I would hope that I would be able to look at the budget more critically and not overspend.
Thank you. Carla Santorno.
It's important for our public to know that the budget that we're facing came from a combination of factors, and that it is important. This was from a 25-26 biennial budget, and as soon as it was detected, action was taken. And I think it's important to know that some of those things are ones that we experience in our own personal budgets. Increased prices, and for the city, for the parks, it was decreasing city contracts, rising costs, increased expenses on our over revenue, decreased income from sales tax, and then actual costs that didn't match the number of people that were coming to the activities. So our response, which is the question, is we immediately froze positions that had not been filled. We instituted several strategies. One, a voluntary separation for people that were willing to look at that, and then reduced duplications of jobs. One of the things you mentioned was how will you make up? And so we're right now looking at, how we can take those positions and pair them and ask people to pick up a different responsibility. And of course, we know you can't take one job and say, hey, do all of this, but instead making some strategic looks at how we'll balance our budget. We'll need to, we of course want to work with our community to make sure that they have a chance to look at our, to look at the new biennium budget too.
Thank you. Thank you. That's time. Thank you. Malachi Cabera.
Yeah, thank you. I think this is an important question because this is a new revelation for the Parks District. And first and foremost, deficits don't just happen overnight, right? So I think it's about looking at the budget more critically to see where some of the gaps may be in services. We saw earlier this year lots of cuts from the federal government. So I think one of the first things should have been seeing what possibly may be impacted within the budget for the Parks District, whether it's from federal, state, or local, municipalities. And I think that calls for a stronger call for collaboration across other governments like the city, the county, and the state to see, hey, the Parks District, the revenue comes from a lot of property and sales tax. So as we look at session, is property and sales tax going to go up or down, and how may that impact the Parks District? And then secondly, and finally, I think that calls for more transparency to community by saying, hey, this may be something that's coming down the pipeline. How can we get your feedback into it? I know it's been a lot of call for transparency amongst all government levels. So as a commissioner, I would like to be that sounding board to let folks know what's happening, not only just in the Parks District, but also across various government systems, and how that impacts the parks as well.
Thank you. Bronwyn Clarke.
Can you please repeat the question?
Absolutely. Parks Tacoma is currently facing a budget deficit of millions of dollars and recently laid off around 24 Parks employees. What ideas do you have to address the budget deficit and ensure this does not happen in the future? And also, how will Parks Tacoma maintain the same level of service with fewer employees?
Yeah.
90 seconds.
Excellent question. So I was not on the Parks Board during the time that this budget deficit has occurred. My first question is to understand in detail the drivers that led to this significant budget deficit and how it got so bad such that cuts were, this should have been anticipated. So that is one thing that I will be looking to understand. I have an upcoming conversation with Parks staff, and to me, it is really important to understand the budget from the perspective of all different levels of the organization, not just the top levels, but making sure that we are directly listening to frontline staff who are experiencing these and may have, put the writing on the wall. I also have some experience dealing with budgets. During my time serving in university student governance, I looked at significant campus budgets. I've also served as a treasurer and director of finance previously. So despite my big dreaming, I do actually have a lot of experience looking at budgets and that kind of management. I also think that with regard to how do we manage this and mitigate this, my experience working with the city of Denver, where they were facing giant budget cuts, massive reductions, and also trying to reduce gun violence, they did that through convening community partnerships. And so that is where I would look to build partnerships so that we can continue to meet the needs of the community by leveraging and aligning our resources together.
Thank you. Pete Reyes.
Yeah, any staff cuts to me are a tragedy. I'm a labor employee. I've experienced these things firsthand. While on the board, have served and elected to serve on the Business Responsiveness Accessibility Advisory Council. So it was that advisory council that were one of the reasons we were able to flag that this deficit was coming after reviewing some of the quarterly financials. I do believe that we can maintain the same level of service, and I believe that the route to keep this from happening again is going to be dictated by the board priorities, and that's to maintain a park system that's focused on service, prioritize health and safety, and retain our commitments to environmental sustainability, and also honoring our partnerships. And I want to make sure, despite the budget cuts happening, we invest in programs that provide a high community impact, especially in underserved populations. So that looks at, that means looking critically at our budget, looking critically at administration, remaining vigilant about redundancies. So I'm confident that we can right the ship with the upcoming budget amendments. And I'm proud to play a part in maintaining those same levels of service. I believe in the parks staff for having passion, enthusiasm, and intelligence to maintain those services. Thank you.
Thank you. Finally, Alisa Lee.
Thank you so much. I understand many in community are concerned about this. I'm actually really excited to have an opportunity to speak on it. We're governing during tenuous times. Like Commissioner Reyes, I was also on one of the Parks Board Advisory Councils, and so as early as March, I was checking in with them. I actually went to one of the people on the Business Responsive Advisory Council, and we were concerned about these things. Unfortunately, when you have incomes and revenues that come in on a quarterly basis, it takes a little bit. So I'm relieved we caught this as early as we did, but I'm still deeply, deeply saddened. I think altogether, while this is very disturbing, it reflects 4 to 5% of our total budget. We still have money. We're still going to be out there. We're still going to be running our programs. The 24 people, the 14 voluntary separations, the 14 people that were laid off. It's a tragedy. However, we gave our employees options and really worked hard to try and reduce positions from all levels. That includes our senior staffing and our management team, so that we could keep the people that were running the day-to-day programs in place. As I mentioned earlier, my top priorities are protecting the programs that serve our working families, and I'm confident that we are going to continue doing that even in these tough times. We are confident right now that the actions we're taking are going to stabilize the budget through the biennium, so through 2026, and over the next 6 weeks, the Park Board will be working on the budget amendment, and we look forward to hearing from community during that time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all. This is a long question, but you only have up to 60 seconds to answer, and you never need to use all your time. This is just a reminder. Carla Santorno will answer it first. Planting native vegetation, removing invasive plants, and avoiding pesticide use are necessary actions for truly sustainable parks. However, these practices require more manual labor than Parks Tacoma alone can support. And so a larger volunteer force is needed to sustainably maintain Tacoma's parks. What ideas do you have for increasing community engagement and volunteering within Tacoma's parks?
Good question. We are so concerned about all of our environment and all those things, the invasive plants and the hard work that it takes to increase our tree canopy and to reduce our emissions. I think the most important thing is that we're really vocal about letting people know what we need. The incredible thing about Tacoma is that when you ask them, they will come. And so I just think it's important that we take the time to advertise and recruit and ask our current volunteers who they know that would also like to volunteer. The board has also talked about, that it might be time to provide, some kind of incentive. obviously, we don't have funds, but there are, tickets to the zoo or, some other incentives that we can use to get volunteers to come in and be a part. I also think that we need to create a community of volunteers. Let's have them come in together and have socialize and get recognition for what they do. I think the more that we recognize, and the other thing is, as a board member, I need to recruit.
Thank you.
Oh, sorry.
Malachi Cabera.
Yeah, this is a fantastic question. I'm looking at who are our current community partners or not partners. So who's already on the forefront doing community-based volunteer work? So Tacoma Tree Foundation is an excellent example of where the Parks District can lean in more and help support and enhance their volunteer programs. My professional job is at Palmer Scholars. Some of you may be familiar with it, but we actually have a new program called GSI, where it is based around environmental services, and we do have our scholars go out and go into our parks and clean our parks. And I'm also looking at how do we get youth back involved? And more importantly, how do we get juvenile youth back involved into our community? We also partner with the Oakland Ridge facility for another program that we run, and you won't believe just what happens when you give young people opportunities to thrive within community. So how do we partner with Raymond Hall, the Oak Ridge facility, and other correctional facilities to get youth or juvenile offenders back involved into community and not just in a room where they come out to resent their community?
Thank you. Bronwyn Clarke.
Thank you. I think for me, this starts with respecting our existing volunteers. I have heard directly from the park steward at Swan Creek Park that his efforts to restore original native habitat in a prairie area have consistently been mown over by Parks Tacoma maintenance. And so that to me is like number one, make sure that the existing volunteers feel like their work is valued. A second thing is look at the folks that are already clamoring to partner with Parks Tacoma. So the Tacoma Tree Foundation, they have trees that they are begging for permission to plant on parks property. And I think that we need to build that partnership so that is much more collaborative. And finally, as someone who is currently working with the City of Bend on wildfire resilience, I think we have to step up our efforts here. And Seattle has a program called the Seattle Climate Conservation Corps that gives jobs to underrepresented youth as well as unhoused folks and puts them to work for the green economy. So those are some things that I would explore, and we have to do more.
Thank you. Pete Reyes.
So I love this question because prior to my elevation to the board, I was a Parks Tacoma volunteer. I proudly volunteered on work parties, and that was really a point of pride to me. That was something that I did and loved and shared with people across the ages. So I think championing those people, and also I believe that it's an opportunity to program intergenerationally. Malachi mentioned the youth. This is an opportunity to get our youth involved with our elders. They have so much to teach us, and the youth have so much to learn, and the enthusiasm is just top notch. So I believe this presents an opportunity, and we just need to champion them. And I got to see that happen at the Grit City Awards. I also love our community partners being mentioned, Tacoma Tree Foundation. So I'll respect the time and stop here.
Thank you. Alisa Lee.
So much for this question. So I've gone out to a number of the different park steward work parties, and I am just so amazed and impressed by the number of volunteers that show up for Parks Tacoma. However, we have 2,000 acres of green space to maintain. So how are we going to keep that engagement going? I think being out there is a huge part of it. It's already been said here by a couple of the others, but the board has a lot of new energy at this time, and I think just us being out there, we're going to be those connectors, right? I did a listening session at Lincoln Park about 2 weeks ago. We had people come from community. We'd also canvass the neighborhood, and we got to catch parks users while they were there. During that time, there were 3 different groups I'd connected with that I didn't know about. There was an environmental student group at Lincoln. Somebody from one of the neighborhood councils also said that they would like to step up, and there was a representative there from a senior group who said, hey, what can I do? Can you imagine all of those people and their networks getting involved? But we have to be the ones to be out there, be representing the Parks District, and make people feel like they want to be part of things. So thank you.
Thank you. Jerry Thorpe.
there is a army of kids out there that are looking for something to do. And I think that through the schools, we can talk to those people who are dealing with kids that need activities, or they're already involved in activities in their school, to plant and have greenhouses and be involved in plants and studying, so we don't have these invasive plants we're not really in control of them, because we haven't I think put more emphasis. So I would ask the schools and the kids to volunteer.
Thank you.
And we're going to continue on the theme of youth for this next question. It will again be 60 seconds. Youth programs and accessible green spaces have been shown to have a positive impact on at-risk youth and communities in general. What ideas do you have for increasing access to nature and affordable, or even better, free, recreational programs for Tacoma's young people, especially in areas around the South End and East Side? And we'll start with Malachi Cabera.
Well, I think it's important to know, I mentioned it earlier, that I am the youngest candidate out of the whole entire pool of Parks Commissioner candidates at 21 years old, and that was the reason why I wanted to jump into this race, was to get youth back at the table of decisions. So when I think about how do we get to that point, especially within the southern part of the city, which I reside in, I think about can we create a youth advisory council? I was actually pretty shocked to see that that wasn't something that was brought up, or what's I'm looking for, made by the Parks District, considering that there are many programs that benefit youth. And I'm also looking at how do we secure long-term funding for our already existing youth programs like Club B, Beyond the Bell, and Summer Teen Late Nights, because those are free, accessible resources that are available for after-school youth. So those are the things that I'm looking at, and the ideas that I have to get youth back at the table.
Thank you. Bronwyn Clarke.
Thank you. So in my work on gun violence prevention, I hear over and over again that programming is prevention. If you keep kids booked and busy and having fun, they've got less time to get up to things, right? Also in that work, I heard directly from folks that there was a deep need for connection and belonging and love. If we heard from folks in Denver, like if you feel connected to yourself and to others, it's much harder to want to harm, you know. So I think that thinking about the ways in which our existing services and programs and spaces are designed intentionally for that relationship is crucial. A big opportunity here, in addition to what Malachi mentioned of the Youth Advisory Council, is looking at the Fred Meyer that just recently closed in the South End. That is a massive opportunity, if we see it that way, to see if we can co-locate community centers with youth programming, with community food forests, all of that. So I think that is something that I would work hard with community to explore.
Thank you. Pete Reyes.
Can you repeat the question, please?
Absolutely. Youth programs and accessible green spaces have been shown to have a positive impact on at-risk youth and communities in general. What ideas do you have for increasing access to nature and affordable or free, which would be great, recreational programs for Tacoma's young people, especially in areas around the South End and East Side?
So my experience as a nurse really dictated what my campaign priorities and what my tenure on the board will look like. I currently work as an adolescent behavioral health nurse, and I've seen park in public spaces activated to improve physical and mental health outcomes. So that's number one for me. I call it green time over screen time. I want to see, and I've worked towards, when I was on the Advisory Council for Active Living, championing a Parks RX program here in Tacoma. Parks RX program would allow a prescriber to prescribe a walk, a nature walk, or a yoga class, or a dance lesson, and Parks Tacoma would then partner with insurance companies to have that paid for. And it would be doctor's orders, and this is a route that we can take. But listening to youth and me working with youth allows me to see that through the lens of not only a father, but as a nurse. Thank you.
Thank you. Alisa Lee.
Thank you so much for this question. So I have really enjoyed my time. As I mentioned earlier, I was on the Parks Tacoma Active Living and Community Lifestyle Council, and one of the things that we learned about was the state of play in Pierce County. We have set this national goal to meet the average of getting 24% of our Pierce County youth outside for at least an hour. Right now, we're just at 16%, and the only way we're going to do that is actually by listening to the youth and giving them what they want, removing barriers. You know, one of the things that I think that comes up a lot in your typical club sports is, do the individuals have the supports to actually participate? There's fees, there's the need of parents driving them back and forth every day. We want to offer things outside of the just traditional club sports, things like skating, things like archery, things that will actually appeal to these individuals. In addition to that, I also think bringing them in and giving them a voice, a seat at the table, is going to do wonders. I've seen that change just with a youth intern on my own campaign, and I look forward to seeing more of that work at Parks Tacoma.
Thank you. Jerry Thorpe.
Could you repeat that question once more?
Absolutely. Youth programs and accessible green spaces have been shown to have a positive impact on at-risk youth and communities in general. What ideas do you have for increasing access to nature and affordable or free recreational programs for Tacoma's young people, especially in areas around the South End and East Side?
Well, I believe if we make our call for volunteers through the schools, that we will get a wonderful response. Kids are looking for something to do, something positive to do. And if they can be involved in activities that also dovetail with what they're doing in school, that has a positive effect. I don't expect miracles, but I do expect that if we have our hands open, saying, come, be a part of us, work with us, there are many kids out there that would welcome the opportunity.
Thank you. Finally, Carla Santorno.
I'm gonna watch the clock. One of the things I think is real important with getting more youth out to accessible green spaces is great partnerships. One of my best days was a Saturday at Verlo Field on off McKinley, where the Kraken came down and handed out free tennis shoes and free hockey pucks. And there is a great example of how when we can get partners to come in, we probably had, I know we had several students there that had never had a hockey stick in their hands. And so we need to really work on partnerships. The other thing is day programming, making sure that if there's a program, for example, releasing salmon into Swan Creek, we can take 3 or 4 classrooms once a week for them to come down. There's a perfect opportunity to show students what we have. So we just need to be imaginative and take a look at what we can do.
Thank you.
That it? Okay, another long question for not nearly long enough answers. What ideas do you have for maintaining safe and welcoming parks while the current housing shortage, insufficient shelter space, and inadequate mental health resources have many people experiencing houselessness, turning to local parks as a safe place to rest? And do you have suggestions for improving access to resources for those people? Bronwyn Clarke is first.
Yeah, absolutely. This is the question that I hear the most often when I am knocking on doors in our community. Folks are concerned about the housing crisis, the fact that our unhoused neighbors have nowhere to go, and also they are concerned about a lack of mental health services. So in response to that, my top priority would be the city has a team called the HOPE team, which is comprised of social workers, behavioral health workers, mental health, but it is chronically underfunded. And I think that even though Parks has a budget deficit, I think that we really have to look into building a partnership to support funding for the HOPE team, because that is the way that we provide compassionate, relational services to our unhoused community who are experiencing those challenges. The other thing that I want to think about is prevention. So we need to get people, we need to catch them before they become homeless. In my work on social services, I've worked directly with families in child welfare, and what helps them is when they have a social worker navigator who can help them sound the alarm bell basically and say, hey, we are at risk of eviction. How do we get connected to resources, and how can we be supported to navigate the incredibly complex system that exists? And so I think that we need to follow the model of the library that has social workers located in their libraries. I think we need to bring that to our community centers so that we can meet people where they are with navigational support and resources.
Thank you. Pete Reyes.
So I believe that an activated park is a safer park, a cleaner park. So I want to listen to community concerns about how can we activate these spaces to keep them joyful. I also work on the front lines of the mental health crisis. I believe that if houselessness reaches our parks, that it is appropriate to offer place-based care, or if the places are parks, then that's where we should provide care. I believe truly that parks are for all, despite someone's housing status or documentation status. I believe all should be welcome in our community centers and parks. So I will work to make sure those things remain equitable and fair with respect to families, and all of us in Tacoma we are all connected here, and parks are that connective tissue. Thank you.
Thank you. Alisa Lee.
Thank you so much for this question. I really believe that we have to lead with compassion first. When I say I want to make our parks feel safe and welcoming, that means for everybody. It's already been mentioned here, but one of the things I really love to see out in community is the library system has a social worker, and she floats between the different branches. I forget the stat off the top of my head, but I believe she served close to 200 people in her inaugural year. As I mentioned earlier, the budget deficit, I hope that it is just a speed bump. It's only 5% of our total whole. We should still be able to serve people, and having some kind of a resource worker, whether that is a shared position with a partner agency or something we eventually can fund on our own, I think that's really important. I'm also thinking about response times. I would love to see our park system become part of the 311 response program. Currently, it is not. And then finally, it was mentioned earlier that we are working on this wonderful program, Parks RX. I really think that a mental health component to help booster some of those support services that are so needed would be a huge resource for people. And I'm hopeful that we can dream up something like that in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Jerry Thorpe.
Could you repeat the question, please?
Sure. It's about homeless people needing parks, and how should the parks respond, and what can we do?
Well, that's a tough question. People who have no homes, their first priority is going to be to find a home and take care of themselves on a day-to-day basis. How can the parks solve that problem? I don't think the parks can solve that problem. I think the problem is something that the individuals have to work at, the families need to work at. We need to let people know throughout the Tacoma area that the parks are open. They welcome people, regardless if they have permanent homes or not. And I think families need to work more together. I was thinking about back in the days of the Depression, families stuck together. And families need to do that now. The park system really can't substitute itself for what the families are doing or are not doing. So I would hope that we can have a more positive approach and welcoming.
Thank you. Carla Santorno.
So I think Jerry's absolutely correct when he says the parks can't do it alone. This is another real important question, and the answer has to do with partnerships. We've got to partner with our legislators and find out, what we can do to help and what that looks like. We need to be innovative, and that's bringing different parts of our community together, including city, philanthropic organizations, community organizations, and talk together about what are those steps that we can do to work together to make sure that we can take care of those that need access to our parks and need the facilities and need programs. The other thing is, and I think maybe Bronwyn said it, is that we've got to talk to the people that are affected. They're not all one group that all have the same needs. They all have different needs. And sometimes, it may be access to water or, something really simple that we can approach that doesn't take, a lot of money or a lot of things. And others may have needs that are a little bit more, that are more, that are more desperate than that. And so I think that partnership and coming together, and then also building awareness so that our park staff and our park community can acknowledge and recognize, not just walk by and pretend they're blind and that they can't see it, but we look at the problem so that we can address it.
Thank you. Malachi Cabera, please.
Yeah, this is an excellent question, and I must admit, Commissioner Santorno stole the words right out of my mouth. I think that the homeless crisis here and just our county is not just a City of Tacoma issue or Parks Tacoma issue. I think it's a regional issue. So getting all the partners in the room at the same time to figure out how can we spread resources across our county will be key. I heard last night at another forum that folks come to Tacoma because we have the resources, which I think is it's a tricky situation, right? So how do we spread that wealth? How do we spread that resources? And how do we collaborate with our regional partners to ensure that no matter where somebody is in our county, that they feel that they are supported where what they call home? I look at our community centers as well. How do we transform our community centers to places of hope, and knowing that this is not just a place where I can, rent out a space or take my kids to, but this is actually going to be a place where it's a community hub for resources. So incorporating social workers within our centers, and also if we have additional space, let's look at how can we turn our community centers into places where people can go to have a bed for the night. So I think we have to get innovative with how we think and enhance the existing resources that we have and collaborate with the partners all across our region and on the state level.
Thank you.
Thank you. One more?
Is it me?
Yes.
Thank you all. There's a lot of you, and we asked long questions, so there weren't that many of them. So now it's time for closing statements, which we'll do in reverse order of opening statements. Candidates have up to 1 minute to give a closing statement, and we'll begin with Pete Reyes.
Thank you. Thank you for having me today. Thank you for considering me when you fill out your ballot. My work on the park board is deeply personal to me. I currently represent the only Latino voice on the board, and I'm the only board member with school-age children. Communities of color have historically lacked representation as civic leaders here in Tacoma, so I'm proud that the Parks Board represents a change in that. I'm proud to represent working families and make sure that they are represented in the face of budget shortfalls, climate change, and I want to always be the father that I am, the nurse that I am, and the board member that I am. I think all of those things are connected, and I'm proud to be all those things for Tacoma. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Bronwyn Clarke.
So I started this campaign because too many of our neighbors south of the freeways, who are often majority Black and brown, are never asked what they want in their parks. As of today, I'm proud to say that my campaign has knocked over 5,500 doors and counting in South Tacoma, the South End, East Side, and Hilltop. And those are neighborhoods that are facing more heat with fewer trees. And what I hear from them is clear. People want nearby green spaces that meet their needs. The current system is not working for everyone, and that's why I'm inviting you to dream of alternatives. Imagine the money that we would save if every Tacoman could find belonging and resources close to their house. Imagine, services for our youth and unhoused, and imagine seniors finding care and recreation in our community centers. That future is possible if we work together and build collaborative partnerships. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. Malachi Cabera.
Well, thank you for having me today and for your consideration of support on November 4th. Again, my name is Malachi Cabera, and I'm running to ensure that we have equal access representation on the Parks Board. I'm 21 years old, and I see the impact of what we can do when we invest in our youth every single day through my work at Palmer Scholars. So I'm excited to be here, to be considered. I know folks may have a question of my age, but I serve on 3 nonprofit boards, and I deal with budgets as well. And more importantly, I'm rooted in community, and I want to make sure that I'm able to advocate for you no matter where you live in the city, and to ensure that we have equal access investment as well within our youth, our seniors, and anybody who can benefit from the Parks District. Again, happy to be here, happy to answer any questions. I am endorsed by various local leaders, including Senator Yasmin Trudeau, as well as progressive organizations, including Indivisible Tacoma, as well as multiple union partners, including Laborers 252, who just endorsed me not too long ago. So happy to just be considered for your support again.
Thank you. Carla Santorno.
I think it's time for me to say that I'm the grandmother on the board. And so I've had an opportunity to look at 3 generations of park users. And I am excited about taking that experience and my, what I've done when I've taken my grandchildren to the park and to the facilities and to the different programs. And I think that we have to look at what we're doing currently and look, and make sure that it's meeting the needs of our students and of our youth and our families. And I also think we need to continually have an eye to the future. Are we doing what we need in the future? The other thing is we've all said we're going to do everything. I want to make sure that we hold ourselves accountable. What are our goals? What are our action plans? And how many times are we going to meet with the community and say, here's how we're progressing, and here's the goals we've met. Thank you. I hope to earn your vote. Carla Santorno.
Thank you. Jerry Thorpe.
Could you repeat the question, please?
Closing statement, please.
Just a closing statement. Oh, thank you. Well, thank you very much for this activity and being able to present myself. I am definitely a senior citizen, and I want people to know that the seniors have definite needs, and and the seniors want a voice in what's going on. We've been disappointed in the actions of the legislature. They have not lived up to their responsibilities, and that makes life very difficult. We look at the deficits that we're told about, and we say, well, what were these people thinking about when they approved of some of the expenditures? And the seniors are saying, we're not capable of spending money in the amounts that they're asking of us. So I want people to know that I am a senior citizen, and I love my community, and I've been on the park board, and I offer that experience.
Thank you. Alisa Lee.
Thank you again for this opportunity. I'm so proud to be giving back to the system that has given so much to me. Growing up, my father always told me how lucky we were to be in America, a country where you could vote, go to school, and even run for office. Watching my father work to achieve the American dream is what inspired me to want to give back. And that's why I'm here today, hoping to earn a full 6-year term with your vote. As stated, my top priorities now and when reelected are increasing the access and inclusivity of our park spaces, both for our youth and for our seniors, making sure that we are doing our part to preserve our green spaces for future generations, and making sure our parks also feel safe and welcoming for all. My work has earned me the endorsement of Congresswoman Strickland, House Speaker Jenkins, Senator Trudeau, County Executive Mello, the Pierce County Central Labor Council, our firefighters, our teachers, and all of my Parks Commissioner colleagues. For a full list, you can visit votealisalee.com. Thank you again so much, and I hope to earn your vote in November.
Thank you. And thank you to all the candidates for participating in today's forum and answering our questions. This has been really wonderful. This forum and others for local offices, which will be on your ballot, can be viewed on TV Tacoma, YouTube, or the League of Women Voters of Tacoma Pierce County's website at lwvtpc.org up until Election Day. Once again, the candidates for Metropolitan Park District of Tacoma Commissioner in reverse ballot order are, in position 1, reverse, Jerry Thorpe and Alisa Lee. For position 2, Malachi Cabera and Carla Santorno. And for position 3, again in reverse, Pete Reyes and Bronwyn Clarke. Thank you, thank you, thank you for being here, and thank you to the audience for watching and making yourself an educated voter. Don't forget to read your voter's pamphlet and check your voter registration, or register to vote online if you have not yet done so at votewa, that's votewa.org. Online and paper registrations will be accepted until October 27th. And be sure to turn in your ballot by 8 p.m. on Election Day, or turn in your ballot or have it postmarked by 8 p.m. on Election Day, Tuesday, November 4th. Please be sure to get your ballot into a drop box by 8 p.m. I'm repeating myself, and please don't forget to vote. Thank you so much.
You all.